All right, should be a fun one today. I'm going to go ahead and get started because this is a little bit of a longer training. So a little bit of housekeeping. Please make sure to put all your questions in the Q&A bar down below or at the top of your screen, wherever that appears for you. I'll get to all those questions at the end of the training if I haven't gotten to them in the middle. Today we're going to be talking about basically how to sell SimpliPhi. This presentation is titled SimpliPhi's Elite IQ Installer Training, Comprehensive Technical Tools and Sales Techniques, SimpliPhi's Value Proposition. So we're going to be talking a lot about the value for homeowners of adding storage. So hopefully this is going to be helpful for you installers, pitching that bid to your customers as to why they should add storage to the system that you're installing. We're going to be talking a lot about different incentives and tax rebates, different programs that are available, and as well as different, value propositions for storage. We're going to go through a overview of the products that we offer here and then help you pick the best products and size them well for whatever system that you're installing. I'm going to show you some tools on our website, and we're going to wrap it up by talking about our IQ program, and then of course my favorite, the Q&A. The clicker doesn't seem to be working here. There we go. So I'm going to start with an overview of our company. We were actually founded in 2010 as OES Energy. You may still even see our logo as OES on some of our older products that are still in the field. We actually were born into the mobile industry. We were making mobile power packs for Hollywood filmmakers. So that's really a pretty hardcore application, definitely proved our roots in the mobile industry. Oh, excuse me. Really, we were founded to solve a problem though, and that problem was unsafe lithium chemistries, causing explosions, fires, all sorts of hazards in people's homes and their businesses. That was what we were founded to solve and why we chose lithium iron phosphate as our chemistry. And in addition, we were able to provide a solution for failing lead acid batteries. Lithium iron phosphate is a great drop-in replacement for that. In 2011 and 2012, we convinced the military to use our batteries in one of their projects, and it went like, basically they said, hey, we're doing this project, we want some proposals, we want no lithium batteries involved in this project at all. However, we were able to convince them that our batteries were safe enough and did not have the hazards of combustion that cobalt-based batteries did. After testing at Aberdeen Proving Grounds, they actually did decide to use our batteries, so that was a big step forward for lithium batteries, improving their safety. In 2013, we began expanding our product line, offering, really installer-friendly and customer-friendly solutions. In 2015, we relaunched and changed our name to SimpliPhi Power. And in 2017, we began ramping up manufacturing, which we're still doing today, increasing our manufacturing capacity at our Ventura County, California factory. All of our products are UL certified when applicable. 1642 is the cell level certification. 1973 is the module level certification, so like each battery. And 9540 applies to the whole system. So that would be certifying batteries and inverters, everything in the system as a whole. UL certifications are extremely necessary, not only to make sure that your system is safe and has been tested by a third party beyond just the manufacturer, but also as far as inspection purposes, and insurance purposes, UL certifications are really necessary, and they're only getting more and more strict as far as the national codes and requirements. So let's talk about how to sell battery storage. Right now there's a problem, and it's growing. We have a limited access to safe, reliable, affordable, and sustainable energy. The energy costs are escalating. I mean, I know my energy bill has been increasing. My cost per kilowatt hour rate has gone up every year since I've started paying the bill. This is not isolated to just the US. This is happening in Europe as well. The infrastructure for our utilities is failing, right? So we have these really old transmission lines and transformers that were designed for a grid that is no longer the same as it was when it was installed. For example, transformers are undersized routinely. They overheat during the day and they cool off at night. It worked well for quite a long time, but now that we're adding EVs to every home, it seems like those transformers aren't cooling off at night anymore, and they're just breaking down as they're not having time to cool off. There's a growing need for decarbonization. So citizens are demanding that cities and states and utilities decarbonize their electric supply. So what this entails is, a net zero carbon emissions program. But a lot of these utilities and cities just don't have a very clear plan to meet those goals. So that's where we come in with distributed assets. Distributed assets allow customers to provide their own energy and store it as well, and even assist the grid. So as most of us know, batteries are very versatile. They can be used in a variety of applications. Our batteries specifically have a really high charge and discharge rate and a very dense capacity. So they have a very versatile, wider range of applications than most. They can be used for peak shaving, to avoid charges for using too much energy at one time. They can be used for avoiding time of use rates. So if you're charged additional money per kilowatt hour between 5 and 9 p.m., you can use your batteries to purchase power when it's cheap in the middle of the night, and then use it when it's expensive to avoid buying power during those time of use hours. And of course, integrated solar plus storage. As we all know, solar is generated during the day, and most of us really only use it in the evening and the morning hours. So when we talk about selling batteries to customers, we want to make sure they understand what's the true cost of a power outage for them. The cost of a power outage is, first off, spoiled food is the first thing I think of. Everything in my fridge is going to go bad. That could be $1,000 for many people. Loss of income. For example, I'm working from home. If my power is constantly cutting in and out, I'm going to lose my job. There's also safety aspects and just peace of mind. I mean, maybe your customer has a security system that they'd like to keep on, or a recording system for their security that they don't want to lose the recordings from and lose power. In terms of commercial power outages, what you're looking at is not only a loss of business income, but also the expenses you have to pay that are fixed expenses during the time where your business can't even operate because you have a power outage going on. So things like labor, rent, and actually even increased utility bills to cover the outage. So, your utility company has an outage, you have no power, but you're actually going to pay an additional bill to cover for their losses. This is something we've been seeing more and more often, unfortunately. It's kind of crazy to imagine. Especially in manufacturing, if you're losing production hours, this is huge. And In the US alone, we saw an average over the entire nation of 8 hours of power outages during 2019 alone. This is really only getting worse as the rate of natural disasters is just exponentially increasing. These natural disasters are often weather related, sometimes planned, even with the California public safety power shutoffs, to avoid more fires in California. It's been recommended that PG&E actually increase the number of power shutoff events. So this is something we're only going to be seeing more and more going forward. And it's already a big deal now. So imagine how difficult it can get soon. Now, already approximately 8% of systems installed have storage attached to them from the day they're installed. So if you're going and installing a new solar system, probably 8% of your systems are already asking for storage. But that rate is, again, it's on an exponential rise. More and more customers are asking for storage because they see the benefits. And there's a lot of shifting market dynamics like incentives and rebates that we're going to talk about further. Ultimately, the attachment rate is expected to rise to 16% in 2022 and between 25 and 27% in 2025. So again, you're going to be seeing more and more storage installs with and attached to your solar installs as time goes on. So some of these market dynamics that I want to touch on are incentives, targets, and market access. Ultimately, the price of solar energy has declined almost 90% in the past 10 years, with wind going down about 70% in that same time frame. Now, every other energy generation source has pretty much been staying the same or decreasing or increasing slightly. No astronomical changes that can compare to the price of wind and PV. Now, what's been causing this? Of course, generally a shift in mindset of the nation, but also all these policies and rebates and incentives that we're seeing. So the investment tax credit, ITC, this is a federal incentive, a tax credit that you get in response to installing solar and storage. California million solar roofs incentives. California has a lot of additional state incentives on top of those federal incentives. And renewable energy credits. If you generate, a megawatt hour of renewable energy, you can essentially sell that to somebody who cannot produce renewable energy, and it's kind of like a carbon offset program. It's a really interesting way to incentivize generation of renewable energy. Additionally, net energy metering. This is going to allow you to, with your solar and storage system, you can buy power when it's cheap. And like I said, kind of sell it or keep it during those expensive hours. So this is really incentivizing storage for those solar systems, because a solar system alone does not really help you combat time of use. Solar and storage is going to help you combat that in a huge way. We talked about the federal incentive programs, but I wanted to touch more on California. Of course, we've got the SGIP program here, which is specifically incentivizing storage in California. And this is a pretty big incentive. I mean, the project cap is at 5 million. So this really favors smaller projects and distributed assets. Additionally, I just today heard that HB 5006 passed. This was a bill in Oregon that provides $10 million for low and middle income customers and even low-income service providers for installing storage. Also, the BRIC, so the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Program, this supports local communities, states, tribes, and territories. And really, it's shifting the focus away from disaster repair and disaster recovery and really putting money towards disaster prevention for the first time that I have seen, which is awesome. This is, again, going to incentivize storage for disaster prevention. Awesome. So now we can kind of understand why the market's shifting and why it's important to have storage as one of your product offerings when you're installing solar. Let's talk about an overview of our products, and then we can go through how to choose which project and size it for your how to choose which product and size it for your project. So as many of you know, if you've seen our presentations before, we use only lithium iron phosphate chemistry and only cylindrical form factor. Pouch cells are often found more in mobile applications, or excuse me, not mobile applications. They're more found in smaller applications such as laptops. They're great, but they're also prone to swelling and puncture. So it's not the most durable form of energy storage. A prismatic cell is awesome, very durable, but more bulky, allows you to not fit as much energy in a small space. So we've gone with the cylindrical cell that allows us to pack the biggest punch in the smallest space. And it's honestly got the best lifespan and performance that we have seen. As far as lithium iron phosphate, this does not contain cobalt. Now, cobalt is the source of thermal instability and that's what makes the battery able to catch fire. So we do not use cobalt in our batteries. Our SimpliPhi batteries, those are our newest product offerings. Now, again, all of our products use lithium iron phosphate chemistry and cylindrical form factor. So that's going to be in all of our products across the board. Our SimpliPhi battery is 3.8 kilowatt hours, 48 volt battery that is UL 1973 certified, and there's several 9540 configurations available if that's needed in your jurisdiction. This is a 75 amp hour battery capable of C/2. It discharges up to 100 amps for 10-minute surge. And what's new about this battery is the closed loop communications with compatible inverters. Right now, the inverter it communicates with is the Solarc inverter. You can connect up to 40 battery modules in a system, and when communicating with the Solarc, it's going to auto-populate many of the important set points, like the charging set points, for example. This is going to allow a high level of protection for the battery. It's going to tell the inverter exactly how it wants to be treated. For example, it can even curtail or stop charging when it gets too cold. This allows you to actually even use a smaller battery bank than you otherwise would be able to with a non-communicating battery like the Phi battery we're going to talk about in the future. Because the battery can communicate how large its bank is, and the battery can communicate its charge rate of the entire bank to the inverter. The inverter then is going to limit the charge rate accordingly, even if there's just one battery attached to a Solarc 12K. Not something you should do with Phi batteries, but definitely something you can accomplish with SimpliPhi if your customer needs to start with one battery and add on as they go. Because of the communications, it's also going to give you a high level of accuracy and real-time readings for state of charge, voltage, and charge and discharge amps at any given time. Plus, through Solarc's monitoring platform, you can see these not only in real time, but also historically, the data is kept. Now, our Phi batteries, they do not have communications, but this makes them infinitely scalable. So if you've got a project needing more than 40 batteries, you can add as many of these to a system as you'd like. It's a very simple parallel connection to a common connection point. It's an 86-pound battery that's modular and scalable. So this is going to allow one person to carry as many batteries as they need to in and out of a job site and make as big of a system as they need to make. It was designed as a drop-in lead acid replacement, but it's being used for all sorts of projects nowadays. Now, of course, this battery has an integrated BMS to keep all the cells balanced and safe, but it also has a built-in breaker on top, just like the SimpliPhi. Built-in breaker is going to make installation safe and easy. So one key feature about Phi batteries is the C rate. So nearly all of our products can discharge at C/2. This means they can charge in as little as 2 hours and discharge in 2 hours. Now this is going to hold true for any size battery bank. So for example, if you've got one battery that's 3.8 kilowatt hours, you can discharge that at 1.9 kilowatts. As soon as you add a second battery, you can discharge at 3.8 kilowatts. You've got 4 batteries, 7.6 kilowatts is your charge and discharge rate. So this scales up as you add size to the battery bank. Now, C rates are really important because having a high C rate like C/2, that's going to let you maximize the size of your PV array. If you're off-grid and you only have a few windows of unshaded sun each day, this is going to be really key for you. If you are on-grid and you want to maximize the amount of PV you can sell during those peak hours, this is going to be huge for you. I often do not see, a C/2 discharge rate needed in any residential circumstances. But it's very helpful, more on the side of charging, in my opinion. We also offer 12 volt and 24 volt options. So our 3.8 kilowatt hour battery comes in 24 volt, but many times that's a little too big for a mobile application. Maybe you don't need 3.8 kilowatts. So for example, in a lot of campers and RVs, we've been seeing people use our 1.4, 12 volt or 24 volt. It's 57 amp hours at 24 volts or 115 at 12 volts. It's only 33 pounds and it comes with the bare wire connector. It's gonna help you wire it in easily. When you're bouncing around on a mobile application, you really want those bare wire connections often instead of a terminal lock or a bus bar on the terminals. Of course, this battery has an integrated BMS as well. It's going to keep the cells safe and balanced. Our access unit. Now, we're going to talk about a lot of examples where the access unit fits into many different systems. But as a brief overview, there's a couple different inverter choices, industry-leading inverters, top-of-the-line safety. There's no maintenance needed for anything inside of these cabinets, really. The inverter should need no maintenance. The battery should need no maintenance. And the ability to DC or AC couple with new or existing PV systems is available with all of our access units. Many of the configurations have been 9540 approved from UL. So this is going to be huge, making this easy to get approved in your jurisdiction. There's also a high voltage solution that we offer. So if you need from 200 to 1100 volts DC nominal, that's something we can provide. It scales up in voltage and in energy as you add more stacks to the bank. So these are our only product that are designed to be wired in series instead of parallel connections. And this is a containerized solution with CAN bus, Modbus, or Ethernet communications. So we've got an awesome project intake form on our website. And if you are in need of a high voltage solution and you want to get some more info, definitely just start by filling that out, and our sales team will get in touch with you to figure out exactly what you need for that project. So now that you understand kind of what we offer, let's talk about how to choose the right product for your project. When you're retrofitting existing solar, the access unit is one of my favorite solutions. This is going to have an easy install. Most of the times you can keep your rapid shutdown compliance for your PV system. In some jurisdictions, I'm seeing that battery shutdown is needed from time to time. Again, it depends on where you are. Most places it's still not needed, but in some places you will need to switch to kind of a single button shutdown, and then you're just adding that single button. And again, the access unit is going to be UL 940 approved. So there's so many configurations here. It's not just one access unit that's approved. You can add storage using a boss cabinet, for example, and that is approved as well. So if you need help figuring out what configuration is approved in your jurisdiction, just give us a shout. So when you're choosing the right product, again, looking at a grid tied, an existing PV system, most of your products are already outdoors. Your microinverters are outdoors, the critical loads panel is likely outdoors, and the main panel is often outdoors too. So all you have to do is drop that access unit in between your critical loads panel and your main panel. Now, if your customer doesn't have any loads on the critical loads panel yet, you may want to move some of them over from that critical loads, from the main panel to the critical loads panel. That'll allow them to keep them on and keep those loads powered even when the grid is down. One more thing about this is if you want to go just add in some additional storage here, your customer is not satisfied with 4 to 6 batteries, you can add in a boss cabinet or several boss cabinets and combine them with this access unit. So this is going to be highly scalable. You can add 12 batteries in one boss cabinet, 6 batteries in a boss 6, or 12 in a boss 12. When you're off-grid, know that we warranty all of our products for both on and off-grid applications, including our access units. This is something that a lot of other manufacturers do not warranty for off-grid. I feel that when you're off-grid and you're using an access unit, it's really best to DC couple when you're off-grid. I think using an access unit is a great solution because you can throw it outside and it's very versatile, but I really prefer seeing new systems being installed DC coupled, especially off-grid. It's more efficient and there's really more ability for you to make use of the newest features. Our standard batteries, they're small building blocks that allow you to build really any size system. A lot of off-gridders need a very customized solution. They don't want to pay for more than they need with these giant building blocks, and they don't want to have too small of a system either. So, having this 3.8 kilowatt hour building block, this is going to be perfect to, meet the exact needs of your customer. As I mentioned, if you've got a large PV array and a shaded area, that C/2 charging is really going to come in handy for you off-gridders. I think another point to mention, since we're talking about selling systems here, if you're selling a system to somebody who's never lived off-grid before, it's really important to preface, that with some expectations that they should have for their system's functionality. If they want a small storage system, they're going to need to limit their loads. And that's something that you should be able to kind of get them prepared for. It's definitely a different lifestyle. We also have some, when you're looking at mobile applications, we've got this cabinet called an express unit. This comes on wheels. This is great, I think, for somebody who maybe has multiple homes that they want to use this at. They can just wheel it from place to place. It's got an AC inlet and outlet already built in, as well as a DC quick connect inlet for PV charging. This can be just plugged in, directly to a wall to charge up, and you can plug your loads directly into it. There's no hard wiring that needs to be done with this thing, although it can be hardwired if that's preferred. Of course, our 1.4s, as I mentioned, are more geared toward mobile applications like camper vans. And we also even have some very small mobile like briefcase units like the Jennies with, fold out solar panels, all sorts of cool stuff there. That's more geared towards camping and disaster relief, things like that. When you're initially selling the system to the customer, something they're going to ask for almost every time is, how can I monitor it? So if your customer's looking for some very advanced monitoring and communications between the battery and the inverter, they're going to want to go with the SimpliPhi and the SolarArc solution. So maybe an access unit so it can sit outside, or maybe even just the SimpliPhi batteries and the SolarArc inverter sitting alone. But we'll talk about that a bit more later. Ultimately, using the SimpliPhi with the SolarArc is going to allow for the most advanced monitoring, both real-time and historic data. However, know that monitoring is not actually required to uphold our warranty. A lot of manufacturers are saying, if your system disconnects from monitoring for a certain amount of time, that voids your warranty, and that's not something that we do. There's plenty of other ways that we can tell how the system's been operated without constantly monitoring it. So monitoring is not required to uphold our warranty. However, I do see it as something that customers are requesting more and more often. If you are trying to do, whole home backup or, load control, we definitely have experience with different smart panels that can actually turn your electrical main panel into a smart panel and kind of control and limit those loads and provide some level of monitoring and control remotely. When you're looking into the SimpliPhi and the SolarArc, again, these are the communicating battery and inverter option. One option is the outdoor access unit. This is going to be a 12K SolarArc in a boss cabinet with the SimpliPhi batteries inside, between 4 and 6 batteries. This is an all-in-one enclosure, NEMA 3R rated. But if it's not needed, if you do not need an outdoor rated install and you're putting this in your basement, you can simply set the batteries down and wire them to the inverter. Additionally, you can get a boss cabinet if you need to put the batteries outside, but you need additional batteries and 4 to 6 is not enough for your customer. Throw the batteries in a boss cabinet and get the outdoor rated inverter. You can have the inverter not inside a cabinet and just have 12, 6, 18, 24 batteries, as many as your customer needs, sitting in boss cabinets. Know that the batteries themselves are not outdoor rated, but as soon as you put them in the cabinet, they're fine. As far as large scale backup, microgrids, and commercial and industrial, you're definitely going to want to look towards our high voltage solution. This is offered in 24 volt modules or 48 volt modules that stack in series. They have an external BMS. So this is really unique because there's not many large scale backup solutions that are still lithium iron phosphate and containerized. So this is something that you should definitely consider if you're needing high voltage, but you want your project to be extremely safe. Another advantage of selling SimpliPhi over a different manufacturer is our availability and distribution model. We've got a global network of a whole lot of trusted distributors. Almost all of them can provide you with assistance in designing your system and give you a full bill of materials to provide everything you need for that system all in one from one shop. So this is something I really recommend, is kind of creating a relationship with a distributor that's near you. If you're an installer, there's somebody who can double check over, all of your designs, make sure you're not missing any components, and you can get everything from one place. These distributors are experienced in providing customer support and design help. And I'd say the most important thing about our distribution network is that they actually help us keep lead times short by keeping product on hand and keep prices low, because again, they're shipping to you from a very short distance and we're not close to everyone. So it makes sense to reduce overall costs by going through a distributor. We get so many inquiries from installers saying, I install 5-year batteries each month, I want to buy direct from you. And we're saying, look, this is how you're going to get the best price and the shortest lead time, is just going through these distributors. That's the only option. When you're selling batteries, your customer is probably going to look first at the initial price tag, but it's really important to help them understand the difference between the initial price tag and what really matters is the price per kilowatt hour. That's what you pay for at your utility company. That's how you pay your electric bill, is per kilowatt hour. So that's how you want to price out the storage system. We call this levelized cost of energy. Now, you can factor out the levelized cost of energy for a solar system and then the batteries separately. So we could talk about the formula for calculating this. Basically, you're just going to divide upfront cost and divide by the total kilowatt hour throughput you're going to get out of these batteries. One thing that plays a big role here, though, is ancillary costs. So this is going to include stuff like installation, replacement, maintenance, racks, and any ongoing costs. Maybe you need to rent a forklift to throw the batteries in there because they're hefty. Any costs associated with installation and maintenance of the system over time, you're going to want to include. That's important because lead acid batteries have a low upfront cost, but they don't last long, and then their maintenance costs money, and then replacing them often costs more money than installing something that's going to last longer. So that's an important thing to include in your calculation to help you understand the return on your investment in your storage system. We actually have an LCOE calculator that you can use. The link's right here. So you can actually throw in the type of battery you're purchasing and how much money you're paying for it, and compare that to a different lithium or lead acid battery in the industry. Now, again, another important aspect of selling a system is understanding the specs, the spec sheets of the battery, and the warranty documentation. This is pretty confusing from a lot of different companies. I think ours is very clear. Our spec sheets show that our batteries can continuously discharge at C/2, like I mentioned. So it's a 75 amp hour battery that can discharge at 37.5 amps for the 48 volt version. We actually have an 80 amp surge capacity, and that's a 10-minute surge rating. So that's a very long surge rating. Several companies will call out a max limitation of what their battery can do, but then not warranty all the way up to that max spec. So they'll call out, maybe, let's say it can do 100 amps, but they'll say, oh, it's only warranted to 70. That doesn't make any sense, and that's not something that we do. Additionally, with charging restrictions, now our batteries can charge from freezing to 120 Fahrenheit, and they can operate, which basically just means to sit and rest or even discharge, all the way down to -4 degrees or up to 140 degrees Fahrenheit on the high end. Now, here's something that's important to understand is the warranted period, whether that's cycles or time or throughput, and the end of life capacity. So we warranty for 10 years flat. You can pump out unlimited cycles during those 10 years. If you can cycle as many times as you care to. I find most people end up just cycling once a day. But you can expect to get 10,000 cycles out of these batteries. If you cycled once a day and you do the math, that's actually going to last you like 27 years. We just can't warranty for 27 years. We want our warranty to be, clear and straightforward. So we're just warranting for 10 years flat, as many cycles as you'd like during that period. Now, at the end of those 10 years, you're still guaranteed to have 80% of the capacity remaining in the battery. So a 3.8 kilowatt hour battery is still going to be a little over a 3 kilowatt hour battery at the end of those 10 years. So again, something you want to look for in the warranty is, are they guaranteeing you a set amount of time like we do? Are they guaranteeing you a number of cycles or an energy throughput? Also, what is their end of life guaranteed capacity? Ours is 80%, and I have yet to see one above that. You want to look at the temperature and charging restrictions, and then not only look at the spec sheet to see what's possible, but look at the warranty to see what is warranted. I see a lot of other companies reviewing our batteries and other batteries and just providing, inaccurate, maybe outdated, and maybe just false information about our spec sheets and warranties. So I'd encourage you to just contact each manufacturer directly for that info and get it in writing. I certainly am not going to talk about any other company's batteries because I don't know them as well as they do. You also want to make sure you understand if monitoring is required to uphold the warranty. Now, anybody can say that they have an 80% end of life guarantee, but can they actually prove it? Because our batteries were tested by Clean Energy Reviews alongside many other companies and actually came out on top in terms of efficiency and end of life capacity after 10 and 15 years of cycling. So we're all the way on the left here. Got the most capacity remaining after 10 and 15 years and a 99% efficiency rating. Another selling point of our company is that we've got great customer support, both before and after purchase. We've got design and installation tools on our website and a sales team that's going to help you, properly size and design the project. In addition to, as I mentioned, our distributor network is also happy to help with that. One of our calculators is a very quick calculator. For example, if you know your customer's loads, you know how much energy they're going to need. Maybe you've got a few utility bills in your pocket that you can pull out and use to size their system. This is a great quick calculator for you. We've got another kind of slightly more in-depth calculator. This is going to take into account the charge controllers, inverters, all sorts of system equipment that's going to affect the minimum number of batteries needed to safely operate that equipment. And we've got a lead acid battery bank replacement calculator. So if you know the model of battery that your customer is using, and they have specific depth of discharge that they've been sticking to, mostly I see around 30% depth of discharge for lead acid banks, then you can calculate the size of lithium battery bank that's needed to replace that with the same or more capacity. Also, our technical support team is here for you. Give us a call or email. Unlike a lot of other companies, we've been able to really keep up with the increased demand in the industry these past few years. And we pick up the phone all the time. I'd say we pick up the phone right away on 99% of calls. If you don't get through to us, we don't have you sit on hold. You just leave a voicemail and we'll call you right back. Our team is made up of people who actually have experience, people who are really passionate about this field. So, we really are able to solve a lot of issues for you. Even sometimes when you're not able to get a hold of another company, we can help you if it's just something quick. If you just need some settings, of course, we have all those on our website as well. We're happy to help you locate them, but they're under our support tab on our website. So our specification sheets, warranties, installation manuals are going to be great for wiring methods and different techniques for installation, as well as our integration guides. Those are going to contain all the settings that you're going to need for different equipment when you're programming the system after install. Now, lastly, our IQ installer program. I know there's a lot of installers here today, so I want to touch on the benefits of our IQ program. So as an installer, joining our IQ program is going to give you a spot on our map. Now, with a spot on our map, this allows customers to easily find you if you're in their area, quickly pull up your website, phone number, email, give you a call, and contact you so you can come out and give them a quote or whatever on their project. It's going to be giving you a whole lot of free visibility, not only through our where to buy map, but also through our newsletter and various social media platforms. Every month we have a featured installer from our IQ program that we like to shout out and provide, a front page feature for that installer to make sure everybody understands that they're doing awesome work. As a distributor, it's really important to encourage your installers to get involved in our IQ program. This is going to help keep a consistent flow of SimpliPhi sales coming in and out your door. It's also going to demonstrate that your installers know what they're doing. People in your area are more likely to buy SimpliPhi products. They've got a whole lot of installers, and all those installers, you can refer them as well. And lastly, of course, we're going to send you some branded gear with our logo on it, but we're also going to let you use our logo in your marketing. So again, it's optional to join our IQ program. You can install our batteries, whether you're IQ certified or not, but there's a whole lot of added benefits that I'd love to see you guys take advantage of. If you're interested in getting started, you can just email me or click this link right here. It'll take you to our application page. But again, if you're interested for more info, please feel free to email me. My email will be on the next slide. Awesome. So thank you, everybody. My email's here at the bottom, training@simpliphipower.com. I'm going to hop into the Q&A and answer some questions, but feel free to email me if you have any questions. Do we have any application info for solar carports with storage? So solar carports with storage, I know there is one option sold by Renvu. Renvu has a solar carport that has solar panels, and you can get it with SimpliPhi batteries as well. Awesome. We got a little shout out here from Josh Brum of Battery Systems. SimpliPhi Power rocks. Your before, during, and after the sale support is fantastic. Battery Systems is a big fan and recommends using SimpliPhi Power for pre-project engineering. They're amazing. Thank you to Ricardo and Sequoia. Yeah, thank you, Josh. You're doing awesome work over there at Battery Systems. For those of you who don't know, Battery Systems is one of our distributors, and Josh Brum is awesome as well. Thanks, Josh. I'm starting out and wanting to install a system myself. I may eventually become a certified installer since I'm already a licensed electrician. Can I still do this? Yeah, absolutely. So go ahead and install your systems. As soon as you have 2 systems installed, you're eligible to become IQ certified. So go ahead and get started and just make sure you take photos of the systems that you're installing. I see a raised hand, so I can't unmute you, unfortunately, but just type in your question in the Q&A bar, and I'll go ahead and answer it live. How many batteries would I need to pair with a SolarC 12K? So the 12K has a 185 amp charger, and our batteries charge at 37.5 amps. So ultimately, we'd recommend 5 Phi batteries to go with that solar converter. That's a solution we see a lot, as well as the SimpliPhi batteries. You can use as many SimpliPhi as you'd like. You can go as small as 1 SimpliPhi battery, as long as you have communications enabled with the solar converter. Know that if you're using 1 SimpliPhi battery with the SolarC, it's going to be throttling the charge and discharge rate. So it's somewhat like buying a new sports car and putting a speed limit of 50 on it. But it's something that can be done. I think it's really useful for, I see a lot of off-gridders start with a very small system, and they'll use their solar and storage system to actually build the rest of their property. So that's where I think the SimpliPhi fits in really well for off-gridders, is if you're starting with a small system and adding to it down the road. What's the average cost of a mobile 1.4 kilowatt hour solution? So if you need pricing for our products, contact our distributors. Again, Josh Brum with Battery Systems. It's just one person who can give you a quote, for example. I don't know how many 1.4 kilowatt hour batteries you'd need. That depends on your loads as well as your other system equipment. Are there any incentives in Oregon in addition to federal incentives? Yes, there's actually, just this morning I read about HB 5006 that passed, providing $10 million for, low and middle income customers. This is going to cover a percentage of your storage system. Also, low income service providers can actually get money back as well, up to 15 grand for a storage system. A SolarC 8K can use closed loop communications with the SimpliPhi. Yes, that's correct. Can you start with 2 batteries? Yes, you can. As long as you connect the communications, and in that case, the inverter will understand how many batteries are in the system and limit the charge rate accordingly. So yeah, you can start with 2 batteries. I've been in the industry for 12 years and I've designed and installed many systems. I'm looking to deploy your battery system to replace batteries in poorly installed systems. The first is an Outback Radian 8048 with 7 kilowatts of PV. Can your team offer guidance on battery sizing for 1 day of autonomy? Yeah, we'd be happy to, assist you in sizing that system. Check out our calculators on our website and then email me or our sales team. So our sales team is just sales@simpliphipower.com. Ultimately, the length of autonomy, that depends on the customer's loads. So we'd need to get some info from you to understand the customer's loads. However, we recommend a minimum of 5 batteries for the Outback Radian 8 kilowatt inverter that allows it to meet the C/2 requirement of our batteries. If you put in just 2 SimpliPhi batteries inside of a Boss cabinet, you could still scale to 6 later. Is that correct? Yeah, that's totally correct. You can add batteries later. You should know that as you install batteries down the road, the warranty of the newest battery reverts back to the warranty of the oldest battery. So if you install a battery now in 2021, and then you install another battery in 2023, the warranty of the second battery is going to be effectively 8 years from 2023. Are you willing to share the presentation? Yeah, absolutely. Everybody who signed up is going to get a link to the recording of this presentation, whether you attended or not. With whom should we communicate if we want to promote SimpliPhi solutions in the Middle East and Africa? The last I checked, African Energy is one of our distributors in Africa. However, please just email our sales team or myself, sales@SimpliPhi Power, and they'll route you to the nearest distributor to you, depending on where you are in the Middle East and Africa. Are the batteries 48 volts or strung in series to create 48 volt requirement for the Radian 8048? All of our batteries are designed to be strung in parallel, not series, so they're each 48 volts. The only series connection battery we have is that high voltage stack for commercial and industrial. So yeah, those are all going to be in parallel using same size, same gauge, same length wire for each connection to a common bus point. Definitely reach out to us and we'll point you to all the resources you need before starting that install. All right, that looks like all the questions. Oh, one came in right here. Let's see, I'm going to read through this one real quick. I don't have any comments about these online forums and chat groups. I think they're great, gather ideas there. But I'm sure that Renvu can help you, design the type of carport that you need. Awesome. Thanks everybody for joining, and I will see you again soon.